Hey there, Trailblazers, I hope you guys are all doing well. So, just a couple of hours ago, we have received some new exciting information related to the upcoming characters and content coming to HSR in the near future. This includes new kit changes for CASTORICE in the new update to the ongoing 3.2 beta, new kit changes for ANAXA in the same update, and also news regarding the banner spending events from Honkai Impact 3rd being introduced into Star Rail as well. But before we begin, let me just give a usual disclaimer that everything mentioned in this video is based on info from various different sources, which can be subject to change at any point in time. With that out of the way, let's begin without wasting any more of your time. Let's first start with the recent kit changes for CASTORICE. The first change is to CASTORICE Ultimate, where upon being summoned, the Dragon Memosprite's speed has been greatly buffed from only 120 points of speed to now 165 points of speed. Next are the changes to CASTORICE's first Memosprite skill, which has two versions. The Blast version of a skill has been slightly nerfed from dealing quantum damage equal to 30% of CASTORICE's max HP to now only 24% of CASTORICE's max HP. The other change is to the AoE version of the skill. The previous version of the skill used to consume 25% of the dragon's max HP and dealt quantum damage to all enemies equal to 38% of CASTORICE's max HP. This part has now been changed to the skill still consuming 25% of the dragon's max HP, but instead dealing quantum damage equal to 24% of CASTORICE's max HP to all enemies. Moving over to the Memosprite talent abilities. The first change is to the talent ability called Desolation Broken by Bellows, which states that upon summoning the dragon, it increases the damage dealt by all allies, which now lasts for 3 turns instead of only 2 turns. Next is the change to the talent ability called Ebon Wings over Scorched Ruins, which states that when the dragon disappears, it deals 6 instances of damage, with every instance being nerfed from dealing quantum damage equal to 40% of CASTORICE's max HP instead of 50% to one random enemy. This ability also now restores HP to all allies equal to 6% plus 800 of CASTORICE's max HP. This same change is also applied to CASTORICE's other Memosprite skill, which is also called Ebon Wings over Scorched Ruins, which first consumes HP from all allies and then deals quantum damage, which has been nerfed from 50% to now 40% to one random enemy, and also now shares the same healing passive as the previously mentioned Memosprite talent. Moving over to CASTORICE skill, where both the Blast and AoE version of a skill have been changed to now only consume 30% rather than 40% of the current HP from all allies, making this skill's team-wide HP drain a lot more easier to manage compared to before. And lastly, there are the changes to CASTORICE's major traces, starting with her first and second trace, which basically have their effects swapped around with a few changes. The old effect of her Trace 1, which used to give both CASTORICE and the dragon a 40% speed boost when their respective HP was 50% or higher, has now been transferred to her second trace instead. But now it only gives CASTORICE herself the 40% speed boost instead of giving it to both her and also the dragon. While the old effect from her second trace, which charged CASTORICE's ultimate gauge and also provided HP for the dragon when you overheal beyond 100%, has now been transferred to her first trace. But now, instead of only being activated when you overheal beyond 100% of your unit's HP value, it now works when any ally excluding the dragon receive any kind of healing, as it converts 100% of the healed value into energy for CASTORICE and HP for the dragon. And last but not least is the change to the third trace, where the old effect, which restored HP for all allies when the dragon disappeared, has now been moved to the Memosprite talent instead, and has been instead replaced with a completely new effect, which states that the lower the enemy's current HP is, the higher the damage is dealt to it by the dragon. And when the enemy's HP is 30% or lower, this damage boost effect reaches its maximum value up to 40%. Overall, while CASTORICE's damage multipliers have been slightly nerfed compared to the previous version of the beta, she is now a lot easier to play due to the lower team-wide HP drain from her skill. And instead of only charging her ultimate when an ally receives overhealing, she can now charge her ultimate when an ally receives any kind of healing, which makes getting her ultimate up way more consistent. So that's basically all of the new changes to CASTORICE kit. Next up, let's now go over the kit changes for the other 3.2 character, aka ANAXA. First are the changes to ANAXA's base stats, where his base attack has now been nerfed from 814 to 756, while his base speed has been buffed from 94 to 97. Moving over to the changes to his actual kit, first is ANAXA skill, which retains the old effect, but now also has an added 15% damage bonus for each enemy target present on the field during battle. So, for example, if the field has a total of 5 enemies, which is the maximum amount allowed by the game, then the skill gains a whopping 75% damage bonus. Next is the ultimate, which also remains relatively the same, but instead of ANAXA's sublimation debuff lasting for 1 turn, it now lasts until the start of each target's turn that possesses the sublimation debuff. And finally, there is the change to ANAXA's talent, which has been nerfed from dealing 60% more damage to targets in the exposed nature state to now only 40% more damage. Overall, ANAXA's strength remains relatively similar compared to his older iteration, with the only major changes being the added 15% damage bonus to the skill, which stacks depending on the number of enemies present on the field during the battle, and also a 20% damage nerf to the increased damage dealt to enemies inflicted with a sublimation state from his talent. So that's pretty much all there is to know regarding the changes to ANAXA's kit. Lastly, let's go over the news related to Honkai Impact style spending events being introduced into HSR during the version 3.2 update. So, according to some recent info from a very reliable source named Sakura Haven, a new type of banner event will be introduced into the game during the 3.2 anniversary. This event works similar to the famous banner spending events from Hoyo's other game, Honkai Impact 3rd, which if you don't know how spending events worked in that game, let me just give you guys a brief explanation. Basically, for every X amount of crystals you spend on the currently active limited banners in the game, which are the equivalent of stellar jades in HSR, you gain progress towards special milestone rewards. In Honkai Impact, these rewards usually came in the form of character skins and other cosmetics. However, according to the source, the spending events in HSR will work a bit differently compared to Honkai Impact's version, as instead of stellar jades, you'll have to spend oniric shards in order to get progress towards the rewards, which is pretty disappointing as oniric shards can only be obtained by spending real-world money in the game, unlike stellar jades or crystals, which can additionally be obtained for free by completing in-game activities. This effectively means that this new event is geared more towards the whales that buy a lot of shard packs and is mostly unobtainable for free-to-play players and low spenders. So that's pretty much all of the new information that I have for this video. If you found the info in this video helpful, feel free to give it a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all the latest HSR news and information. That's it for now, so I'll see you in the next video.